Yeah, footstep noise. It is quite annoying. It's not that easy to soundproof, but there are ways to reduce it and also to soundproof it. And this video is for whether you own the home so you can make renovations, or if you're renting, and I'll give you some advice on what you can do if you're renting and you can't really make that many alterations. So first thing, if you live in an apartment and you're the unit below having to deal with the footstep noise, there's not that much that you can do because you can't add mass, you can't make any alterations to the ceiling. And footstep noise, since it creates a vibration, it's a little bit harder to soundproof. It's not just people talking, which is called airborne noise, people talking or the TV on without too much bass, but when the bass goes up, it creates structural noise, like heavy bass, people walking, even traffic. If you can feel the vibration, feel the lower frequency, that is what we want to soundproof with the footstep noise. But if you live in an apartment and you're at the unit below, there's not much that you can do. Some people would say that you can add a blanket to the ceiling. It really won't do anything, so don't even bother. But if you are the person upstairs and you want to reduce your footsteps to not annoy the person below as much, well, there are a few things that you can do that works better than you might actually think. So think of an area rug. An area rug, yes, of course, it'll absorb your footsteps, but you have to go a little bit further than that and add something in between the floor and the rug. A rubber mat, something that will even absorb the vibration of your footsteps even more. I'll have links in the description below of everything I talk about in this video just to make it easier for you to go and pick up. So basically the pad that you can add in between the floor and the carpet, you can add something like what would go between a runner and a floor, what is basically non-stick so it doesn't move everywhere. You can add something like that to absorb the vibration even more, or go a step further and add something called mass-loaded vinyl. Now, mass-loaded vinyl is very thick, very heavy, and it is a rubber type material, and you can add it in between your carpet and your floor, and you'll have even less vibrations going down. But that type of structural noise, if it's just light walking, that should be enough to mitigate at least the footstep noise. It won't, but it will mitigate it. But if it's people running and jumping around, that will only make it better. You'll still hear that big thumping noise. There's not much that you can do to get rid of that if you cannot make any alterations. Now, if you own the home and you want to eliminate the footstep noise, let's say from level 2 to level 1 or in the basement, one thing that you will need to do is to decouple the ceiling from the joist. So if you're just soundproofing for what I said earlier, airborne noise, people talking, you don't have to decouple. The reason why we want to decouple is to make a separation where the vibrations coming down from the floor into the joist will not go into the ceiling of the basement. And that is what's going to absorb those vibrations so you can't hear them anymore. And what you will need for that is something called a resilient channel, or you can also use resilient channel clips. And how it works is you attach it directly onto the studs, and then you attach the drywall onto the resilient channel, and the resilient channel is going to hold the drywall and create that separation, that air gap, that is going to basically snuff out that lower frequency noise that you're hearing, which is the thumping and the vibration. One important thing to know if you are going to use resilient channel is you probably should hire somebody, because yes, the material is relatively inexpensive to buy resilient channels, but to install it, there is a method to do it, and some people tell me that the resilient channel they installed didn't work. They can still hear the thumping, they can still hear basically every footsteps. But the problem is when you install the resilient channel, when you screw the resilient channel from the channel into the stud, you have to make sure that when you go and you install the drywall onto the resilient channel, that your screws aren't too long, that they go from the drywall through the channel and into the stud. Because if they go into the stud, then you've essentially recoupled the entire ceiling. Everything is back together now. So it's no longer separated, and it will stop absorbing the footstep noise. So if you are going to hire somebody, just make sure that they've installed it before and that they know how to install it, and they buy the proper screws, a screw that is not too long. And all that depends on the type of resilient channel that you're going to buy, and also if you have either just one layer of drywall or 2 layers of drywall onto the ceiling. But if you are going to add 2 layers of drywall onto the ceiling, just make sure that the resilient channel that you are buying can withstand that amount of weight. What I would recommend if you are adding a second layer of drywall onto the ceiling in conjunction with the resilient channel, so you have a resilient channel and 2 layers of drywall, the type of drywall I would use or I would recommend is something that is more considered soundproofing drywall. Usually I don't really recommend that type of drywall because it's more expensive than a 5/8 of an inch layer of drywall, and the results aren't that much better. But on the ceiling, the difference here is that this type of drywall is lighter than your thicker 5/8 of an inch layer of drywall. So that will ease the burden on your resilient channel. So then you can just make sure that you have the proper channel for the amount of weight of either 1 or 2 of that type of soundproofing drywall, the type that you see on your screen right now. Now again, if you own the home, you can go upstairs and make some alterations there also. If you don't want to add a resilient channel, you don't have to. But that is what is going to eliminate that vibrational noise the best. But if you can't add it, there's still something that you can do to eliminate that vibrational noise by at least 50 to 60 to even 70%, depending on the person and how heavy they are and how much they jump around. That will determine how much material you have to put onto the floor. Now you can follow the same steps as what they would do in an apartment, where you have material that you don't have to alter anything, you don't have to alter the floor. But if you want to go a step further, something that works better than that, if you need, let's say, a new type of flooring, then you can just rip out the flooring. And then you can add something in between, let's say the plywood and the floor that you are going to install. And what you can use for that is the mass-loaded vinyl that I talked about just earlier. That works very well. As I said, it comes in a roll. It's quite heavy, but to add it onto a floor, it makes it quite easy because you just roll it from one end to the other, you cut it, and just make sure that the entire floor that you are going to be walking on is covered in mass-loaded vinyl. There are other products that you can use. You can use cork flooring also. Cork is a good product that also absorbs a lot of vibrational noise. And it is a little bit cheaper than the mass-loaded vinyl option, so you can go with cork also. That will not eliminate the footstep noise, but it will make it a lot better than it was before. So that's another option that you can use to get rid of that. And I think that is it. If you want to know more about soundproofing ceilings and floors, but do it on a budget and ways that actually also works very well, video right here will get you there. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, assuming you subscribed.